Good day once again, everyone. My name remains AGK Mweze. In our previous class, we looked at HTML, we looked at front-end development, and we looked at structures of the basic HTML, and we looked at some few tags where we saw how to input images, how to link our pages, and how to the H1 tag and the P tag, and also we looked at unordered list and ordered list. So for today, we are taking our class a step forward where we'll be looking at forms and input. So let's quickly dive into forms and input. Some of us, or most of us, if not every one of us, must have filled a form on the net before. Now, let's see how we can design something like that. This time around, let's take for instance, I'm having a birthday party and I want to invite my friends and I want them to fill a form before they can attend that party. So let's see how we can do that. I could write H1 using my MS abbreviation. Sorry, H1. MS abbreviation is not working for now. Let's just do it manually. H1, and we'll have my birthday invitation. If I save, go to add a p tag there and say please fill out the form below to attend my party. If I save it, I go and check my web browser, and this is what I have: my birthday invitation. Please fill out the form below to attend my party. Now, how am I going to create the form? There's a tag known as form tag. This action is asking you how do you want the form to be submitted. Is it get post or is it get or post? We'll see that later in our class, or let's keep that for now. Now, I could easily write something like first name, and have my input. My input must come with a type, attribute. We have various type of inputs, attributes. They are all listed here. But because it is first name and first name are being written in text, in plain text, so I should select text as my input. Now with this, I have an input. If I save it, I have an input beneath my party. Sorry, is loading. It's it has loaded. You have first name and you have an input. You can input text to it. That is an input, first name. Now there are some attributes input can have, but for best practices, it is because sometimes somebody who is visually impaired might make use of your website. So it is good you have labels inside your input, and those labels, sorry, inside your form, and those labels are pointing or giving description of what that particular input is for. Like for instance, for this first name, I can have a label. And what is the label for? The label is for first name. Let me just copy this one. Let me copy it. Now I can put the first name here. Let's remove it from here. Um, Now I should have a name that will be the same thing, a name attribute that will be the same thing as this four, and an ID attribute that will be the same thing as this four. So my four is first name, so the name also should be first name. The ID also should be first name because everything is pointing to this input having a first name. Now this attribute here required, let me remove it for now. I have it like this. If you go back and check, you see nothing changes, nothing happens. But what has really happened or what you have added to your form is that you have added accessibility to your form. Now, if you're using a screen reader, the screen reader is going to read out first name aloud. That particular input is for first name and first name alone. You could have it again and just name that one last name. Let me see if my intelligence will bring it. Okay. Now, there's a tag known as BR, which is to break. BR means to break, meaning the next input that I'm going to put should be beneath the first name. Now, if I have that, I could have label for last name and I could still have the same thing. If I save it and check, find out that I have last name beneath the first name because I have a break here. Now let me remove this break and see what happens. Let me save. You find out that the last name will go beside the first name. Now also, because you want your web page or your form to be really accessible, you could have a placeholder attribute, and the placeholder might be John Doe. If I save it and check what my, or rather, let me use this one as John, and I add placeholder here, placeholder, and I say this one is Doe. Now it's going to give those who are seeing your web page, it is going to give them an insight of what they should have here. So John is the name, Doe is the name. So one can easily put his or her name here and put his or her name here, his surname here. So that is how you add that to your web page also. Now also, that is for name. Please take note of the um input type, because all input type, we have several input type. Now we have email input also, and the email input type, there's a input type known as email. Now this label is for email, the input type is email. Now what does it do? As you can see, the placeholder here is john at example.com. Now, what does it do? This one is trying to give you an insight of what kind of email you should put. Now, if I come here, you find out that you have email. If I put anything that does not have a at here, it is not going to accept it. Why? Because all email addresses have the at symbol. If I come back to my code and I change this email to text, meaning any text can work, any text can work. If I save it, any text can work, even if it does not have art, it will work. But that's not our aim. Our aim is to make sure the user inputs their rightful email. So we're going to change this one back to email. Now also there's another input type known as number. Could have a phone number, as you can see, it's showing tel. We have an input type known as tel. Now, when you save it, you check, you find out that you have a telephone number in form of this thing, in form of the, you have a telephone number in form of a phone number, so you can add only numbers there and it will accept. If you don't add numbers, it will not accept. Also, we also have inputs as date. There's also an input known as date. Here, if you see this input type, it is date. It is going to bring out calendar to us. This date is going to have something like a calendar on our form where we can add calendar to it. With that calendar to it. We could also have what is known as time to read. Time is also another type of data type. You look at it for time. Just be observing the type. The 4 is the same thing as the name as the time, but sorry, as name, the ID, the name, the ID, and the 4, they are all the same. But this input type is what is changing. As you can see, it has time here, it has date here, it has day here, it has email here. Now let's see how the time looks like. As you can see, it looks more like a clock. You can select a particular time of the day to tell you the time of arrival if that's what you intend doing. We also have an input type known as password. I have an input type known as password, label. Let me remove that block. For label for password. Let's see how password works. I can come back here and write password. You find out that when you are filling a form that has password to it, those passwords don't show. They don't show. They only, as you can see, I have put the input type as password. It will now make whatever you are typing to be secret. It is not going to reveal, it will be secret. So that's how you have it because you have changed the input type to password. If I should change that input type from password to text, it is going to be revealed. I save it, it is going to be revealed. We also have input type also. Let me change this one back to password. We also have input type known as checkbox. There's a label known as, there's an input known as checkbox. Label for maybe let's say personal accounts or accounts. We have accounts here, and the input type is going to be a checkbox. The input type is going to be checkbox. Checkbox. If I have the checkbox, then meaning it's going to look like, okay, it's going to have a box that I can check and uncheck. Can check and uncheck. Also, let's change that checkbox to a radio. Let's see the difference between a radio and a checkbox. Now it is not a radio, it's going to be a rounded box that you can only select out of one or two. When you select it, the other one will be inactive, and when you select it, it will be active. Now that's how you have that. You can also have what is known as a select. A select is a type of input that you can select. Let's say state of origin. Most of us will fill form that has state of origin to it, and when you just put that, you find out that all the states of origin will just come out. State of origin. Now let's have this as states of origin. Now the input is going to be select. Let's use select. That's what they call select. There's a tag known as select. And the select name, we could have inside the select should have a name. Let's call the name state. Now inside the select, I'll start having options. The options is for option 1. What do I want my option 1 to be? Maybe my option 1 is delta. Delta is the state. Let me add more options. Shift. Let me add more options. This one is Lagos. This one is Imo State. This one is Enugu. This one is Kano. This one is Oyo State. This one is Kwara. And this one is Sokoto. Now, if I make this one value 1, value 2, value 3, value 4, value 5, value 6, value 7, and value 8. This is how it is going to appear. I'm going to have a select button that has already delta inside of it. I can click on this button and select the actual one I wanted. So this is how the select works. It's a form of input also. So this is how the select works. um, Now observe these values that I have here. This is value 1, this is value 2. Now because this one is value 1, that is why it is showing. Now assuming I leave that empty, empty is going to come before any other one. Let me remove empty this one. Please, I don't want noise here. I don't want noise. Everybody go downstairs. Are you hey, that's yours. If I don't know, I have all of you. Are you alright? If I have if I turn this one to empty and the value is empty here, when I save it, you find out that nothing is going to appear here. But when I click on this part, I'm going to see the very first one I should select from. So that's how you add the options and the select. You make use of the select. Now we made mention of required. Now as you can see, none of these have required. Now let's have a submit button. If you have a button and the button type is submit. If it is submit, I can click here and write submit. If I save it now without even filling anything, if I click submit, the form is going to submit. Why? Because I did not put anyone required. But when I come back and maybe make my email required, I added the required here, and I add required here also in the password. Where's the password? Okay, if I add required here in the password, if I save, you find out that if I click submit, it's not going to fill out. It's to refer me back to that page, or sorry, to that input that I have not filled, meaning I have to fill this input before I could progress. Now, if I decide to put something else that is not email, remember we made it an art. It is telling me please include an art in the email address. So that is how the form works. Also, one other form we could look at is text area. We could have a text area. Let me add a text area just above this account. Let's have a text area. Text area could be used to write more than one, more than maybe you want to write a sentence or a paragraph, so you could use text area. Now with the text, as you can see, I have a text area that I can write more than one. I could increase the size of the box and I could reduce it by using the rows and the col attributes. Would have a row. Let me say the row is 7, and let me make the column, the cols 34. You find out that the box will be bigger. I can contain more words I can put there. We also have what is known as file. There's an input type known as file. You must have filled maybe some job forms online where you'll be asked to either insert your passport or insert your CV. How do you do that? You have an input type known as file, an input type known as file. Now, if you have that, it means you can choose a file to put. Can if you click on choose file, it's going to open your memory space for you to select a particular file that you can put there. Let me assume I want to put let me go over to this. This is a file. If I click on open, it has added that file for me. And I can submit and not submit. So these and many more are forms. Thank you very much for listening. Remain blessed till we see in our class next week.